colleges and universities in big cities face one set of demands, but schools in smaller communities often face another. Trinity Valley Community College is trying new things this year to meet the needs of its students. And we're joined now by Dr. Jerry King, president of TVCC. Dr. King, good morning, and thank you for being here.
Well, good morning, David. It's good to be here. I'm always interested and want to talk about Trinity Valley Community College.
How have education and operations changed at Trinity Valley since the pandemic started?
Well, obviously, we began changing back in March. We went on spring break about the middle of March, and the reality is that we never came back after spring break. And obviously, we had to switch everything to a remote environment. We already had some online classes, but everything went to online and remote format. And we followed suit with that in the summer. We were obviously hoping that things would be better in the fall. We already had our fall schedule of May. We did that back actually in early March. And so we kept waiting for this. It's July, and we kept thinking, well, it's going to get better and we'll be able to have a full fall semester. And obviously it didn't. And so we had to convert everything back pretty much to an online, remote format. Almost all of our academic classes are in that format. We do still have a few workforce type classes like welding and cosmetology and some of the auto mechanics and things of that nature had to be face-to-face. So we still have some of those classes face-to-face, but we limited the enrollment basically on the class size of the classroom. So we're just making it work the best that we possibly can. We think our students are still getting a great education. It's just different, and unfortunately, we probably lost some students along the way here. We had students that did not have Wi-Fi, although we had the capability to do things for them and help them. There are some students that just didn't have that capability to work from home or whatever the case may be. So it's unfortunate, but we're hoping to be able to get them back. We understand that some students took some time off, maybe took a semester off, or maybe took a year off, and hopefully they'll be back. Normally, community college enrollments increase when the unemployment rate is high. And the unemployment rate is still up there around 8 or 9%, 10% in East Texas. And so it is our hope that when the COVID-19, it'll never go away, but when it kind of resolves the issues that we've had over the last 6 months, that our enrollment's going to go back up again, and those students will be able to come back to school, and we'll be able to get back to probably a somewhat normal situation.
Do you know how much you're down in terms of enrollment this fall?
Yeah, we're down 12%. A lot of that enrollment that we, as I mentioned to you, I think earlier, we teach classes in Texas Department of Criminal Justice. We have 4 units that we teach at. We have a lot of students. We have almost 1,000 students out there. And we lost almost all of those students because the units shut down. Basically, we couldn't even get in the units, some of the units at all. So that a major portion of our enrollment drop came from that, TDCJ. I'm going to guess that probably 6 or 7% of our drop in enrollment was from our regular campus enrollment. But again, I think a lot of that was face-to-face students that we have a lot of students that just need face-to-face type instruction. I think I was that way when I was in school. I needed to be there with a faculty member or with an instructor or professor helping me, through the semester. And a lot of our students are that way. And we just couldn't do that the way that we would like to have done that in the fall semester. And I don't know that we'll be able to in the spring. We're planning on it, but there's a very good chance that we may have to cut back again in the spring semester and go back to the remote format.
Trinity Valley recently opened up a food pantry on campus. When did you first start to notice that might be a need?
Well, I think all around the country, it's been something that's really we've become more aware of in the last year. It's probably been around forever to some degree, but I think it really became something that became a major focal point in the country over the last maybe year or two. And a lot of colleges, a lot of community colleges have started doing more for their students in terms of trying to meet their needs in something that we're calling it an advocacy resource center. Other colleges call it different things, but basically it's a way to help our students. There is definitely an issue out here in terms of food. We are representing, as a lot of Texas community colleges, rural areas, and there's a problem with having enough to eat. And obviously, that's a problem if it's a problem for our students, then we're going to do whatever we can to help those students, and that's kind of what we're doing. We have normally we have about 500 students that live on campus, and it's more of a problem probably for those that are living on campus in terms of being able to have access to different sort of resources. We're not just talking about a food insecurity, but we're also talking about maybe a student needs a coat in the middle of the winter. And or maybe clothing, or maybe legal help, or maybe psychological assistance in some way, especially with the COVID-19 issues that we've been having the last 6 months. I think everybody probably needs a little help from that standpoint. And so we're there. We've got this advocacy center, and the purpose is to help serve some of those needs, outside needs that our students have, to help them become better students and to help them get an education and stay in school. So that's kind of the purpose. And we're not in this. I think the state of Texas over the last really year and a half, maybe 2 years, it's been a focal point for everybody. And it's always been there. I probably, when I was going to school many years ago, it was there to some degree, but it's something that we just have believe is very important part of the educational process, to be able to help those students get the at least the substance type of things that they need to be able to get through by.
More with Dr. King after the break, including his reasoning for why the price of a degree is likely going to drop in the coming years. We're back with Jerry King, president of Trinity Valley Community College. And we talked before the break about the students who had to put college on hold because they're dealing with the pandemic. What do you think schools like TVCC can do or can provide to help bring them back so that they can then continue their education and be able to get that job they want?
Yeah, I think we're out there trying to continue our marketing efforts on social media and other types of a message that we could provide to these individuals that are out there in our communities, that we're still here. We still want to provide these opportunities for them, that there's even more of an opportunity, especially will be for our workforce programs, for our individuals that have been laid off from work, that need a job, that can come out here, that can and get a skill in a 6-month period of time, or a year period of time, or even whatever it takes, maybe 2-year period of time. But they can get a skill and they can go out and get a good job, a good paying job, after they come back to work here. I give the example of our nursing students. We have students that we have about 150 person waiting list to get into our nursing program, our associate degree nursing program. Because it's a 2-year program. They can go through the program. It's not an easy program. They can go through the program and they can become RNs, registered nurses, and they can go out and get a job for $50,000 a year right out of college. And a lot of those individuals were unemployed, or they were single parents that had 2 kids at home, and they didn't have a good income, and this is giving them an opportunity for a better life. And so that's what we do. We give our students an opportunity, and potential students an opportunity for a better life, for them, for their kids, and for their future. So we do that, and we try to emphasize that over and over. Welding is a good example. You can go through our welding program, and you can go out and get a job welding. I promise you. It may not be quite like it was a couple of years ago in the oil and gas industry, but it's still out there. You may have to go to a different location. But there are jobs out there, and we have training and for those types of jobs. So, and the deal is that we have financial assistance. We can help our students financially, and we have of course we have veterans benefits, and we have Pell Grant benefits, and other types of benefits available for students. So, we're here to help if we possibly can. That's our job.
Then do you anticipate that tuition will change for those students who take classes online, or do you think it'll remain similar as to taking class in person?
No, I believe eventually the cost of education is going to go down, primarily because of the remote type of possibility. If you don't have to have a building, and you don't have to have the things that we have, you're going to see the cost of those things going down. And over time, absolutely. They're not just for community colleges, but also for universities as well. The good example of that is our library. We built the library about 25 years ago. We got a grant from the Murchison family here in Athens to be able to build a library. And we built a 50,000 square foot library, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And I hate to say it because I love libraries, but they're not used like they used to be, and there never will be. And so, that's the change that we're seeing, and you're going to see that in the future. The resources, the physical resources on your campuses that you used to need 25 years ago, 30 years ago, you don't need anymore, not like you did anyway. The classroom space, all that's very costly. So that's something that you're going to see, and I think you will see the cost of education decreasing.
Well, Dr. King, thank you. Up next, how the lessons learned from the pandemic are shaping the younger students who may one day head to college.